Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to the Sunday live. It is Sunday. Yes, Sunday. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Also, um, here we talk about photography and catch up on what's new, what's been going on, and um, just kind of chit chat a little bit about photography. And if you have any questions, particularly about Olympus cameras, um, or any kind of photography in general, I do my best to answer them. And also, we get a lot of help in the chat section as well. So don't just look for my answers, but also look in the chat section to see what other people have to say. Because there's many, many experienced photographers here, much more experienced than I am. I mean, they've been shooting since I've been born, many of you, which is awesome. So, oh, Ellie's here. Let's see if she decides to hang out. But, oh, God, Ellie, I got to stop saying her name. She'll come over and bother me. But I've been, oh, and thanks for all the well wishes on about my neck. It is getting better very slowly. This time it's very easy to manage with just ibuprofen or Tylenol. I kind of alternate them. I don't like to get stuck on one for a long time because, I don't know, I feel like you kind of get immune to it and you have to keep taking higher dosages. And I found if I switch, I can keep the overall levels down below, non-prescription strength levels. When I had this problem 10 years ago, man, I was on some serious prescription painkillers. And that was the only thing that mitigated it enough so that I could sleep. Because I remember, God, I didn't sleep for like 3 days until the doctor approved the prescription. And I slept for like almost 24 hours after I got those other pills, but they give me weird dreams, It's kind of good and bad. It's like they're really weird, but sometimes they're very lucid. Like I know I'm dreaming, And I was having a hard time distinguishing between realities and dream, Because the dreams were so vivid and so real when I was on those painkillers. But fortunately, this time I haven't had to do that. And now when I get up in the morning, I can sleep at night without any pain meds, and I can get up in the morning and I'm pretty comfortable. But then when I sit for too long like this, I have to be very conscious of my posture and sit up straight. Otherwise, it'll start to get aggravated again. And my problem is I'm generally very active. I just cannot sit still like you're supposed to when you're working through these kinds of injuries. And, like I've been repainting my bedroom, which involves, the painting part's not so bad, except I'm reaching up a lot and I was painting the floor and all the base trim and, that puts strain, and then moving the furniture itself. And I would take a lot of breaks, so it's taking forever, to just paint a room and remodel it in a way. But, oh, she brought her toy. She wants to play. She brought her little monkey in. I got a little stuffed monkey. But let's see who's here. I see Brad Becker has a question, so I'll bring that up for you. And Jonas is here. John follows. Leon, Johannes, David Tellett, good to see you. And John Yutze, Plato, Roberto, Carlos Garcia. I love saying that all the way through. And let me know if the sound is okay too. I did some tweaks before I got onto the stream today. Hopefully it's sounding okay. Let me scroll down and just see if anyone's made any comments about the audio. And yeah, looks like everything's working. So, but yeah, if there's any problem with the sound today, let me know. But I think I tweaked it. I think the problem I was having before is I had the microphone on the laptop and my separate microphone here on at the same time. So I was picking up a lot of ambient noise. I am feeling better. Like I said, I'm able to manage it now with just non-prescription strength type, like ibuprofen and Tylenol. Thanks for asking. Um, but okay, and I'm using the Melon app uh, live streaming software. So I want to use this because it has a lot of features. So I'm going to start with the first one here. And let's see, I can, uh-oh. If I wait too long, the stream disappears. But I can do this. I can pop up right here a little chat message. Oh, dang it! I wanted to pop up. How do you make it not pop now? Oh, there we go. That's how you unhide it. So it's first time, but I think that'll help me now. Inevitably, I'm going to miss some questions, so don't hesitate to ask again if it's been like 10 or 15 minutes and I didn't answer it, or it looks like I've moved on to other people's questions or comments. Just ask again. I don't mind. I'm not ignoring it on purpose. It's just so many chats come in sometimes. So that being said, it looks like I have 5 minutes to answer a question before it rolls off and I can't show it on the screen. But Brad Becker was asking about how to, where's my, I need to get my other camera. You have an EM10, right? See if this will turn on. Oh, batteries. I'm going to try and show you this. So if I go to a full screen and do this, you can see my whole desk here. But if I go into the menu, I'm sorry, Brad's question was for the OM10 Mark II, immediately after the picture is taken, the playback is fleeing. Any way to keep it on screen longer? So I assume you mean after you take a picture, it shows a preview of the image you just taken, and you want that to stay on longer. So you go into the menu, and I believe it's down here under the wrench, and you scroll down, and right now, I think the default setting is 0.5 seconds. So you can change this to stay on. Auto means basically it'll stay on until you take another picture. And the longest is, wow, you can have the image stay on up to 20 seconds. But usually, 2 or 3 seconds is usually enough time. 2 or 3 seconds is usually enough time. So hopefully that answers your question. I'm going to turn that off because it stays on. The battery's going to drain. Let's see what else we got here. Nature with Music. Hello. Cloudy overcast in London. And morning photos all with EM10 and Helios 44 without bracketing. Wow. Leon, how are you? Leon, I'm sorry, Leon. And no hiccups today. That's true. I'm just going to scroll down and catch up. And the pop-up, yeah. Yeah, Rick and I have been sort of emailing each other about my live streams. And, basically we came to the conclusion, I just can't answer them all. But at least if I pop up the question, everybody can read the whole thing. Because what happens is I'll start reading a long question. And then the chat window, pops up or, moves up out of the way and I lose my place. And right midstream while I'm reading it, it moves and then I lose it. And so I have to kind of extrapolate what the question was. And sometimes I extrapolate incorrectly the question or the comment for that matter. Matt is here. Peter, good. Hans Lubert, awesome. you need a good tutorial for your EM10 Mark III. Yes, I do have a series for the EM10 Mark II, which is about 85% applicable to the EM10 Mark III. It's 100% applicable in terms of learning photography on your camera. And the things that are missing from it are just sort of, bells and whistles, right? That the EM10 Mark III has exclusive. Like I think the EM10, I don't have an EM10 Mark III, but I think the EM10 Mark III has like an advanced photography mode or an AP mode and a slightly different menu setup for that to access different features. For example, you can only access silent shutter in the AP photography mode as far as I know. Whereas on the EM10 Mark II, you can access silent shutter directly in the shutter modes. So there's very minor differences like that are not deal breakers in terms of learning to use the camera, in my opinion, but it's not a one-to-one match, right? But that's what I would recommend. So if you go to my channel, you'll see a playlist for the EM10 Mark II, the beginner series. Let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah, here it is. So you go to my channel, youtube.com/RobTrek, and scroll down, and then right here, EM10 Mark II for beginners. So that's absolute beginners. And if you're already fairly well advanced, there's some other stuff in here that you can check out, but that's what I would recommend. And then also check out Robin Wong, Peter Forsgaard, Jimmy Chang for any kind of tutorials on that camera specifically, because they do have that camera, I believe, and I don't. There's also another section here for EM10 Mark II, which a lot of this is also applicable to the EM10 Mark III, like auto ISO, focus bracketing, macro. So lots of good stuff here, right on the home page of my channel. All right, and let me see if I can start using the chat on this window instead of, it's very confusing using the software because I don't use it much. I really want to, but it's had some bugs. Like when I did the live stream with the 4 or 5 other guests, that was a disaster, and I mean, it worked once I got it working, but it didn't work at first, and we almost had to cancel. And then when I tried it, and I lost Maddie, and then when I tried to have Maddie on separately, it crashed again, and I had to bring him in on Skype. I couldn't just use this app. Plato's here. Jill says, I need to see a good chiropractor. Then you won't need to take drugs. That's so true. This is this chat thing. There we go. That's what I tried to show. Yeah, bear with me while I work through this, but I think ultimately this will be a much better experience for all of us if I can show the chat messages. All right. Yeah, I mean, the key to life really is a healthy spine and a healthy gut, right? So eat lots of yogurt, or eat yogurt in your diet among, fiber, and then also, have a good posture. And I think you can live a happy, healthy life with those two things. Yeah. Rick says, having difficulty establishing reality, you need to get out more or stop breathing in those paint fumes. Yeah, my bedroom's going to smell like paint for a while. And I got this wood floor. Well, let's not talk about that. I'll show you pictures of my bedroom after I finish working on it. I, I painted it sort of the sky gray blue or something. And hello, Lysippus. Good morning, Kostov. Good to see you. And John says the sound is good and audio's great. Audio's fine. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. I'm glad the audio is good now. You're not hearing too much background noise, I hope, because I put the 75 kilohertz low cut filter on and I did a noise filter in the software in OBS. And it's snowing. Winter storm for Hans. Wow. Yeah, you know, we're in sort of a snowstorm here, but right where in the area, but right where I live, it's hardly snowed at all. I mean, just a dusting, you know. And my buddy Walter, who's just 30 minutes or 45 minutes north of me, had like, you know, an inch of ice on the ground on top of snow. So what's interesting is that the temperatures are cold enough that it should be snowing, but it comes down as freezing rain and freezes on the ground. And what I learned was that is because the air is warmer high up in the atmosphere, it's all water. And then it comes down as freezing rain and freezes on the ground because the temperatures ground level are colder than they are high up. So that's the difference between getting freezing rain and snow, which I never knew that before, you know, in all these years. And I'm going to scroll down some more. -9 last night. Ooh, that's tough. It's just slightly below freezing most of the time. Just slightly below. You know, like freezing is what, 32 degrees? So it's been 31, 30, 29 at night, high 20s. So it hasn't been terribly cold. And thankfully the wind died down. And I can actually deal with that, you know, for photo walks and things. But like I said, I've been trying to temper my activity. I mean, I think what kind of brought it back on with a vengeance is about a week or 10 days ago, I chopped a lot of wood, even though my neck was hurting a little bit. Because I knew it was going to be cold this week, because, you know, they've been predicting a cold front. And I said, well, I need to chop some wood so I can stay warm, you know, and not use the frickin' oil heat that's in my house, because oil is so frickin' expensive. And it's going to get cold again. And I'm almost out of wood. I only got like another 3-4 hours of wood left. You know, I'm not using high quality wood, just some old trees that got chopped down in my yard. And let's see. David Tellett says, "Oh, thanks. You're welcome, Brad." Nature says, "I have to look at any photo I have taken I hate to look at any photos they've taken are never as good as I would like." Yeah. Oh, you know, it's really cool when I'm looking down to read the photo, the chat message on my screen. It actually looks like I'm reading it directly. Like that's why I put the chat messages on the side, because when I look over here, it looks like I'm looking at the chat messages. Now, when I look at the chat messages popping up, it looks like I'm reading right at it. That's cool. All about production quality with my streams, right? Aside from all the technical difficulties I try. Adam Favors says, "Love jabbering with everyone here, but could understand if you put us on a show chat to maintain your sanity." On a slow chat to maintain... Oh, no, I'm not there yet. There's an option for me to limit how many times you can post a message. Like you have to wait, I forget, 15 seconds or 15 minutes between chat messages. I guess that's mainly to prevent like spammers, right? That post like 20 messages every second and you get a bunch of junk. But I haven't had a need for that yet because everybody here is, you know, very cordial, very professional. David says Virginia's getting like the UK. We won't see the sun until Tuesday. Yeah, hopefully for a photo walk next week. David Crook runs our local photography club that I joined, and hopefully next week when we go. So if anybody wants to go on a photo walk with me, and you're in the DC area or Virginia or Maryland, um, I'm a member of David Crook's photography club, and we go on photo walks. You know, every other week, if not every week. You know, pretty often. So it's the only time I really get a chance to get out. And Nature's asking, anyone having a slight issue with bird tracking on the EM1X? I am finding a switch to manual focus is necessary if there are branches in the way of the bird shot. Yes, there's a guy, Matthew Gasqui, did an excellent review on that on YouTube. Let me see if I can find it for you. Matthew Guess. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. M1X. Let me. I I think this is it. Uh, but he also has a vlog. Um, right here. He really talks a lot about it here. So check this article out, and he can give you a lot more detail than I ever can about that particular feature, bird tracking, because it's not something I have myself. So I'll put a link to this article in the chat if I can. Okay, I just posted a link. Let's see. And Kostov, oh, hey, Kostov says, any guess about the upcoming WoW surprise announcement on digital sensor or lens or new? No, I have no idea. Oops, you're seeing chat and you're seeing the chat on top of chat. Sorry. No, I have no idea. No idea at all. Hold on. I keep getting texts. I sent out, my Valentine's text this morning. What the heck? My mom texts out Happy Valentine's to everybody, and then my sister and brother-in-law text back Merry Christmas. Really? And Happy Thanksgiving. I don't get it. I got to tell you a funny story once I kind of get caught up on the chat here. And then Plato says, I just uploaded some snaps on Flickr from our Sunday walk alongside roadside FJ Ford a few hours ago. Peeps are ice skating. So Plato, oh yeah, I think if you search for Peter Cardro, you can find him on Flickr. I'll have to try that. Let's see, Flickr. I love Flickr. I really do. It's a shame it's not as big as, say, Instagram or something, but it's for photographers. It's a much better. Oh, I don't see you. Peter. Oh, Oh, I misspelled it. Cardo. There we go. So I think this is you, Peter Cardo. Wow, these are nice. Awesome. And then of course I'm on there as Rob Trek. But yeah. All right. I'm about 10 minutes behind. Hello, Jeff Painter. Good to see you. And let's see, here's another one for me. It says, oops, ice and snow is ending and saw a salt truck, but it will be 30. Dang it, I clicked the wrong message. This is the one I meant. All my walls are painted white apart from one colored feature wall in each room. No wallpaper in my house. Yeah, I decided to paint one room differently because I told everybody I'm going to paint it white, and they're like, white, white. You're so boring. You're so old. And I'm like, all right. So I painted it like this gray blue instead. What was nice though, it covers really well. I didn't even need 1 gallon of paint to finish my bedroom. I mean, my bedroom's about 14 by 14, and 1 gallon did it. I was surprised. Normally I have to put multiple coats on to cover the paint underneath, but it went just fine. Okay, here's another one. Adam Favor says, I know you're only using Workspace, which is the Olympus photo editor, but do you have a favorite piece of editing software that you enjoy? I've used Workspace as proof of concept, but don't associate enjoyment with it. Yeah, the big problem with Workspace is that it's just slow. I mean, unbearably slow unless you got really a high-end machine, and even then, it feels slow relatively speaking because everything is so fast because you're on a high-end machine, right? So there's really two great options for you. There's Raw Therapy, right, which is free. I think it's called Raw Therapy. Let me look. I need to get back into that because that's really a good software. Raw. No, it's not Raw Therapy. What is it called? I'm sorry, Darktable. This thing here. Darktable. The learning curve is pretty steep, but there's good tutorials online in YouTube. It's very, very powerful, and it's free and it's fast. It's not coming up. That's an excellent software. And then there's another free one is called Photoscape. And I believe that they have that for both Windows and Mac. That's a little bit more polished. Doesn't have as many features, but it's more polished and has more bells and whistles. So I would download both of them because Photoscape has features that are kind of handy, like doing collages very easily, adding text. It's more like a Photoshop. But it came up finally. This thing. So that's dark. Oh, you can't see that. So this is Darktable, and it has all the controls over here. So it's really a good software. So I would try Darktable and Photoscape as options. Both excellent software. Hans is yawning. Okay. We'll see you later, Hans. I'm sorry. Couldn't stay up. I'm sure it's probably late where you are. Easter. Yes, Lauren. Easter is closer. Oops. And Plato says, Rob Trek, I know he is one of my contacts, just like Thomas Zazowskis and Randy. Yes. We were talking about Flickr earlier. So I'll have to make sure I follow Peter. And Brad Brad is asking, do I keep a schedule of upcoming photography chats? Generally, Sundays and Thursdays are pretty reliable. I'll try and do Tuesdays also, but I'm thinking of turning Tuesday into just photo editing instead of doing chat and editing. I used to do photo editing after every stream, but since my neck started, um, you know, having problems, I think because when I'm editing, I'm always like this, right? So I've decided to cut the editing back down to maybe 1 day a week if I can. I think I can manage that rather than doing it 3 times a week on top of 3 times a week of streaming. So generally Sunday, Thursday, definitely Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Um, and then Nature says, nothing wrong with white paint for walls, cheap and easy. I have just one colored wall in each room, which gives the impact. Sorry, no colored wall in executive suite if you come. It's okay. Nature has kind of an open invitation for me, which I appreciate. But I thought about just painting one wall, that sort of gray blue color, and everything else white. Um, then I said, screw it. I'm going to paint everything blue, and then if I don't like it, I can paint it white again. You know. Yeah, Matt says raw therapy is also free and cross-platform. But I feel like, and raw therapy is intuitive. So that's another one you can try, Adam, for photo editing. I just know Darktable has been recommended to me many times more than raw therapy. But I've heard good things about both. And Nature says, I am finding the Topaz denoise sharpening software is great to polish if necessary after editing in Workspace or Affinity. Affinity is a paid software, but it's relatively inexpensive. I think it's like $60, and that's been getting a lot of hype. I mean, I don't use it because my paid software is Photoshop, because it has very specific features I need that I haven't been able to find anywhere else. ACDC is about $100, and that's another excellent one. I mean, they're all really, really good software. You just have to find one that works with your brain, right? Where the controls and dials feel intuitive, and you can get what you want done quickly. And I've been using Photoshop Elements for a few years before I converted over to the Photoshop subscription. So I've been trained on Photoshop all these years, and it's hard for me to switch to other software and use it because, it's not necessary because I haven't found anything that does exactly what I need to do. Oh, Walter's here. Hello. Good to see you. I saw your picture of your driveway. Oh my God. I can't believe you got so much. I got nothing here. It's like totally clean. It's like rain here almost. I mean, there's a little bit of dusting of snow now, but it's just basically like rain. And Walter Rowe has a photography channel. Speaking of photo editing software, he has a YouTube channel on Capture One. So that's sort of a premium photo editor with lots of tech support and features that you're not going to find on anything else. It's very unique software, and it's very intuitive. I think once you kind of get past that learning curve hump, everything becomes very intuitive. But that's a subscription model, $10 or $15 a month, I think. And then if you buy it outright, you can buy a perpetual license for like $300. I mean, I really don't know what the pricing is, but I believe that's the ballpark. So check out Walter's channel for Capture One. He has his affiliate links there where you can download like a free trial and, try it out. And if you like it, might be worth it for you. And John Yutze says, I have used Photoshop Elements for quite a while. Good enough for me. Also use Adobe Camera Raw and Nik plugins. Well, I haven't seen Nik plugins in a while. Yeah, but those work, you know. Photoshop Elements, I could get by with Photoshop Elements if for not for my real estate photography business. The workflow is worth the extra $10 a month to go to the full version of Photoshop. While Photoshop Elements can do what I need it to do with the layering, the workflow's much more clumsy. It's so much smoother in the paid version. But Photoshop Elements has probably 90% of the capacity of the paid version. So I think for most enthusiasts, you can get away with just using Photoshop Elements, and it's a perpetual license and has lots of features. I think it's, you know, for me, it would be, if I had to buy software with a perpetual license, that'd probably be the one I buy because it is something I've been learning for the last 7-8 years and just know very well now. But it may not be right for you, but certainly for me, that would be the way I'd go if I went with a paid perpetual license. And must John Truman say, I've been invited to exhibit a small number of photos for an exhibition along with others. Any tips on how to best size and frame exhibits? All black and white pictures. Any tips on how to best size? I've never done a photo exhibit myself. Yeah, I can't give you any advice on that. There used to be a Facebook group that all they talked about was doing exhibits. That was their primary, but I don't know what it's called anymore, if they even still exist. I'm sorry. But that group would give you the best advice. Let me just do a quick search. Maybe I can find it. It's been a long time. I was a member of that group like 7 years ago. So where are my groups? Yeah, I don't think they're around anymore because it's not in my groups anymore. I was a member of that group, but it's gone now. So sorry about that. I don't have an answer for you because I've never done an exhibit. I know Nick Carver has a video on doing photo exhibits. Let me see if I can find that at least. Nick Carver exhibit. All right, so check this out. I just did a search, Nick Carver exhibit, and he goes into a lot of detail about prepping for an art exhibit. So it was a pretty good video. It was interesting, I think. I think this at least will give you a start. But if anybody in the chat section has some suggestions, I'm sure John would appreciate that. But check that out if this is the kind of thing you're talking about doing exhibits. And oh, yeah, a lot of people have been, David Crooks has some advice. Yeah, a lot of people have some advice here. That's awesome. Yeah, from Rick Bear and David Crooks. Awesome. Okay, Randy, we'll see you later. Randy recently, um, Randy here, he recently converted his Pen PL8 to a full spectrum camera, and he ordered a hot filter, I guess, that plugs over the sensor. So watch his Flickr page. I think it's Randall Scott something. I forget his full name. Um, I shouldn't just lead you on like that. Let me just find it. But he has a great Flickr page too. Randall Scott, I think is. There it is. So yeah, just watch Randall's Flickr page. Check it out there. Randall Scott Dunphy. He has a lot of great images in here. There's his film cameras. Like, where's your PL8? Yeah, this one. He said he just converted this one over, so that'll be good. But he's a terrific photographer here. Yeah, Lauren has some advice. I mean, there's so many things here. Advice for you, Bruce. Hopefully that's helpful. And then I think watching the Nick Carver videos it'll just kind of, Nick Carver has a great ability to make you feel like you're right there with them during the video, and just standing right over his shoulder. So I really recommend his channel, not just for that, but he does mostly film photography, but he's very meticulous about the process of photography that can easily apply to your digital camera as well. And that's why I enjoy his channel. It's very inspirational for me to see how he sees things using film cameras, but you can apply it to digital, that process or methodology, to a great extent. It'll really help you expand your photography, I think. Oh, and Plato's saying, at the risk of sounding stupid, what is full spectrum? Well, the sensors are, camera sensors have filters on top of them, the least of which is an infrared filter. But going full spectrum, what they do is they take all these filters off and allow the sensor to see all the light with no filters. And I think they still leave the color array filters on there, but then you can see a much wider band of light that you wouldn't normally be able to see with the naked eye. And that's all it is. So it's sort of a step beyond infrared. Removing the infrared filter, they do something else. I don't know if they add a filter and take the infrared off. I really don't know the process, but if you just go to Flickr and search for full spectrum images, it's easy enough, right? Let me see. If I just do full spectrum in Flickr, see what comes up. So here are some full spectrum images, right? Well, not all of these are. Like this looks like one. So here's a log that's normally yellow and red, but using a full spectrum camera, you see other colors, right? Purples and stuff. This looks like an infrared filter. But yeah, it's kind of like another level beyond infrared. And Nature says, as an update, my new TerraMaster external hard drive RAID 5 configuration is working great. Access, easy access from Apple and Windows computers, has its own IP address. Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, I feel like I don't want to pay for cloud storage if I can kind of build my own. I mean, the downside is if your house burns down, so does your RAID system, right? So maybe a cloud backup makes sense. So you have something off site. But, um, if all my photos burn and die, it's okay. I'm not like Ansel Adams or some, some great photography where they're going to be missed, all my pictures. I'll miss them, but, I have enough on Flickr and Instagram, that it's good enough for me. And good morning, Darko. How are you? And John Allen says, I still don't understand color temperature. Okay, so color temperature has to do with uh, primarily like white balance, right? That's normally how you associate color temperature with cameras. And so natural daylight has a temperature of 5,000 kelvins. And kelvins is I guess that's the metric. Well, kelvins is a temperature measurement. I'm not I'm not articulating this well. But cooler temperatures have lower numbers like 2,000, 3,000. Higher numbers are warmer, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. So as you go up and down the Kelvin scale for white balance, you can cool temperatures down, which makes them more blue, which is associated with colder colors, colder images. And then as you slide the temperature up, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, it's more yellow, right? So it makes the images feel warmer. And I think there's actually there's a science behind all of that that is kind of beyond me. I mean, I watched a video on it once. If you search for what is Kelvin white balance on YouTube, there'll be plenty of videos explaining it much better than I can. But just to keep it simple, lower numbers are cooler temperatures. The blues, warmer temperatures are higher numbers, and yellows. 5,000 is sort of the center of what natural daylight is. Like on a bright sunny day, I believe 5,000 Kelvin. Some people say 5,500, some people say 5,200, but 5,000 thereabouts is on a natural day, all the colors look kind of balanced and natural. But as the evening starts to come, right, clouds come in. Like if it's a cloudy day, things are kind of duller, more gray, more blue. That's a cooler temperature, right? So that's the best way I can explain it. And if it's a very hot, like in the desert, right, it's very yellow. That's much warmer temperature in terms of kelvins. So I'm sorry I can't articulate that too well, but that's kind of the general idea. This stream, I'm still trying to get used to looking at the chat here and popping them up. I feel like I'm missing so much of the conversation here. Darko's asking me, have I used? See if I can find it. Yeah, lots of good comments on temperature. Thank you, Darko. Darko asked if I'm doing well. I'm doing well, thank you. Where am I? Here's a question. Have I used actions in Photoshop? Yes. I have some very simple actions, though, like align all layers is really the only action I use. So because I'll import like 3 or 4 photos, sometimes only 2, but usually 3 photos. and blend those together. But before I can blend them together, I import 3 photos as layers, and before I can blend those layers together, I have to align them. So rather than clicking on the menu, and click align, I program it to my F2 button so to auto align all the layers for me. That's the only action I ever use. I'm a very, very simple, I hardly use Photoshop for anything except to auto align layers and do some blending and light painting. That's it. And there's lots of comments here about temperature. So go through all those. They all seem accurate. I don't see anything that contradicts what I said, other than Walter saying things are opposite. And hello, Arthur. How are you? Good to see you. Oh, hold on. Siegfried is here. How you doing, Siegfried? Siegfried, he says, I'd like to invite you to read my 2021 market overview, my Olympus OMD blog. I did several revisions and now ready for many surprising. Yeah, awesome. Siegfried has one of the best blogs for Olympus owners, I think, anywhere, really. Very educational, lots of detail, lots of testing, and then articles in general about photography. But when it comes to the Olympus articles, I found them excellent. And there's always people that are going to, because, he's also participates in the MU43 forums. And there's always like this weird feedback, right? Where they try to poke holes in his testing methodology or his ideas. You're always going to get those kind of people. But for the most part, read everything he has to say with a very open mind and apply what he's trying to teach, and try to read between the lines and see what's really he's trying to tell you. And you'll really appreciate his insight, on everything. Agree or disagree is fine. Mostly you're going to agree with what he comes up with, I think. And particularly when it comes to more pragmatic things like working with color and working, with ISO and working with exposure. Those things are very practical tips that, there's nothing to agree or disagree about. It's just educational. But, sometimes there's conflicts in his methodology that people have brought up that I get where some people are coming from, but they're missing the point of his article or what he's trying to talk about a lot of times. And that's, I think that's a shortcoming on whoever that person is, the reader's part, so, always approach anything you see or read or want to learn with a very open mind and try to understand what the author is trying to teach you. And the best teachers, do that very well. But Siegfried and what I'm saying is Siegfried is one of the best, I think. So let me pull up the link to his blog. I've pulled it up before, but I should have it. Every time I keep adding bookmarks, yours gets pushed down. And then I can't find it. Yeah, this is it here. So definitely check this blog out. Let me put the link in the chat section for you. This window. Okay. I mean, if you don't get anything else from this stream, you need to go there. That I think this is one of the best source of information for Olympus users. So thanks for coming in today, Siegfried, and sharing that with us. I'm definitely going to read that later today. And Siegfried is adding to that. I really appreciate your comments. I'm really excited with the report. Example, why was the G9 design bigger than other M43 bodies? Interesting. Yeah, I look forward to reading that. Maybe I'll talk about it in my next stream. It's really awkward for me. There's a lot of pauses between when I talk and then when I have to stop and read this. I'm sorry about that. Normally my streams are much more fluid, right? But there's more mistakes. But when I have to slow down and read the comments and pop them up and stuff, at least I think, it'll get smoother. I just need to kind of get used to this workflow, but I think ultimately this will be a better experience for both of us in the stream. But I am missing a lot of conversation because reading it on this tiny screen here versus, I got this big screen here where I can kind of read everything. But the problem is it jumps up sometimes and then I lose my place versus, what I'm looking at now is kind of, it's even smaller and tighter than that. I can't read as many messages at once. And then when I highlight one, it keeps scrolling up, even though, well, anyway, I'll get used to it and we'll get there. So just bear with me through today's stream with this awkwardness I'm having dealing with the questions in the comments. I don't know if others are seeing this, but sometimes your video seems very soft. Yeah, I think, when I turn this way, the camera loses focus on me, so it goes a little soft. And then when I'm facing forward, so I just need to face forward a little bit more. Sorry. Oh, more Valentine's Day things. Man, I tell you, it used to be Valentine's Day was a big day for me. I used to buy flowers, God, for about six different people outside of my own family. I was such a player back in the day. They were just my friends, really, but anyway. That was another Rob back in the day. Walter knew me back then. Oh, that was definitely a different time. And Rick says, your handling the comment is much better today, not too rushed. It makes things easier to follow. Good. Yeah, it just feels awkward to me because there's these pauses. I'm used to just jibber-jabbering for a couple hours straight, right? No pauses, reading things, making mistakes. But I think if it gives a better experience for you guys, because a lot of times I'll start talking about something and you have no idea what question I'm answering or if I'm even answering it correctly because I read the question wrong. But at least now it slows down to a point that I can follow along. Yeah, back in the day, Walter, isn't that right? Yeah, I've showed you guys this before, right? This is my old Instagram account. I'll just browse through it real quick since we brought it up. If I can. This was my Nikon days when I used to shoot Nikon. Yeah, back in the day, there's one. That's me back in the day. 1999. How old was I then? I was 33. Wow. That's Rob Trek at 33 years old. And this was, I don't know, probably about the same time. Back when I used to work out. There's me biking. I extended 2005. So that was 16 years ago. Um, yeah, back in the day, those were good times. You know, I don't know why. This is a grainy picture. Um, I just like this picture of me though. I don't know why. I love those sunglasses, but I haven't been able to find a pair like that again. I lost them. Man. Anyhow, yeah, now look at me all gray and chubby. I need to lose some weight. Okay, I think I see a question here. Um, Here we go. Have you ever discerned what function the UHS-2 cards serve on most of them? Well, I'm going to do my best. I'm not exactly sure what you're asking me, but UHS-2 cards offer you know, particularly with the EM10 Mark II or the EM5 Mark II, sort of the Mark II cameras that had smaller buffers. You'll get much better performance out of it when you're doing continuous high-speed shutter, right? 8 frames per second, 15 frames per second. You'll get much better performance out of your camera. Now, if you're just doing single shots one at a time and occasionally doing burst shots, it's not going to make much difference in your camera and your workflow. But UHS-2 cards, when you're constantly doing sports action type stuff, when your buffer gets full in your camera, it'll offload those images to your memory card much faster, so you can continuously do high speed shutter, continuous shutter, right? And the camera will just feel much snappier. So most people aren't sports action people, but if you do a lot of birds in flight and stuff, because the problem is, you know, why not just buy UHS-2 cards if it's going to make your camera operate faster and work better? It's because they cost 2-3 times as much, right? And, you know, I can buy like a 128 gig card. I mean, let me just look rather than just speak out my butt. Let's look at a 128 gig card. So 128 gig card. Let's pick a decent brand. Samsung, $18, right, and 88 cents. Now let's do UHS-2. Prograde. Let's go back. Well, all right, we'll look at this one. Prograde, I guess, is okay. It's not really a brand. But $55, UHS 220, and that's a V60. They have faster ones. Where is it? Let's look at a SanDisk. V30. That's not UHS-2. Wow, they're hard to find. Here's one. 64 gig UHS-2. Right? $80. Oh, you can't see anything I'm looking at here. Here. So $80 for 64 gig UHS-2 card versus the SanDisk that I was looking at was $19, right? For twice as much RAM. So that's kind of why, you know, you don't necessarily want to buy UHS-2 card because they're so expensive, relatively speaking. And the only difference it's going to make is in high-speed continuous shutter. The other difference it can make, if you do a lot of movies, right, video work, you don't necessarily need a UHS-2 card to record movies on our Olympus cameras. Any UHS-1 V30, V as in Victor 30 card will work just fine in any of our Olympus cameras. But it's in the post-processing, the workflow, when you load those videos and images off your memory card into your computer, is so much faster. So it'll save you a lot of time in your workflow and post-processing. So for professionals, it makes sense to have a UHS-2 card because you save time, get better performance in the field, and you save a lot of time in post-processing with respect to offloading the images from your SD card into your computer. I mean, we're talking, downloading 128 gig in a couple of minutes versus 10 or 15 minutes, right? Using a UHS-1 card. So it's a big difference in workflow in post-processing. So if you need to save time in post-processing where you're offloading tons of images or you're doing lots of continuous high-speed shutter, a UHS-2 card makes a lot of sense, and it's worth spending the money. But I think for most people, the $18 or $19 card from Samsung is fine. So that's my answer to that. Hopefully that answers your question. Anyway. Oh, and the other thing is if you get a UHS-2 card, you need to make sure you get a UHS-2 card reader. They now have UHS-3 out, from what I understand. I haven't seen the specs on that, but whatever you do, make sure you have a UHS-2 card reader because very few computers have UHS-2 card readers. They have UHS-1. So you need to buy a separate one. They're only like $10 or $15, but get a UHS-2 card reader so you can take advantage of the high-speed flow. Because I use one here. This is my UHS-2 card reader. I think I paid $15 for it. So it saves you a lot of time. And that's the important thing. There's some very high-end laptops that have it, the media laptops, but generally speaking, you have to buy a separate card reader. Yeah, and here's some validation of what I was talking about from Dave. UHS-2 cards are expensive, but they speed up transfers greatly. My buffer on my M.1.2 does not fill up nearly as fast as the 170 megabyte UHS-1 card. Yeah, absolutely. And I would only buy a SanDisk UHS-2 card personally. I haven't tried other brands, but I've had this. Oh, it's in my camera. But I've been using one UHS-2 card for about 7 years now. I bought it very early on when I bought my Nikon that was able to take UHS-2 cards. I think. I've had it a long time. And it works great. And I have a couple of videos on SD cards as well. And Walter has some more information. You can read all about SD cards here. Okay. Yeah, that's the organization, SD card org. That's the official SD card specs and things. And Dave says, micro UHS-2 cards are so much cheaper than the full-size SD card. So is there a UHS-2 micro to full-size adapter? Usually when you buy the micro SD card, it comes with the adapter. But a lot of times the card reader you buy will have a micro USB. Not that matters. The UHS-2 card reader will have a micro USB slot in it. Uh-oh, I'm frozen. Hold on. I'm sure you guys can still hear me, but why do I have no video? Give me a second. Let me try 1 second. There. Boy, that's never happened before. I've never had my stream freeze up like that. Let's see. But yeah, it usually comes with a full-size adapter when you buy the UHS-2. Just when you buy it, just make sure it says it comes with the adapter. Oh, Annette's here. Hi, Annette. How are you? Turn the heating up. It's on now. My room is up to 59 degrees now. When I came in, let me see. Oh, I can't read it when it's that far away. Yeah, I'm up to 59. If you see, if it'll focus. See this number down here, 45? So my house got down to, uh, this is a 24-hour window, right? So my house got down to 45 degrees last night. And then it was about 50 degrees when I walked in here. And then I turned the space heater on. Now I'm up to 59. So I'm nice and toasty now. I feel pretty good. I'm actually sweating a little bit. Let's see. Better to be frozen with that blonde when 35 years old. Yeah, I miss Sandy. That was her name. Oh, my neck's doing better. Like I said, I talked about it in the beginning of the stream, but yeah, long story short, I'm feeling better. It's not, I'm still probably a couple of weeks off from being back to about 80, 90%. I've never been 100% since I had this problem 10 years ago, but um, I've been able to manage a long 10 years without any major issues, but now it's just kind of crept itself in. It's because of my posture when I sit down and do these streams. I think the last 6 months of leaning forward and doing streams like that has aggravated it. So, because I didn't live stream or anything except in the last year, really. And I think that's kind of what's brought it back on. And I think I'm only 17 years old Olympus user. Wow, you're young, 17. That's awesome. I'm glad to have you here. A lot of my audience is my age or older. And Pen Pal says, I don't know how you can tolerate living in a cold house. Mine is 70. Wow, man, I'd be like sweating bullets. My dad was the same way, though. He liked to keep the house warm, and he just said, I can't understand why you want to live in a house and be cold. I'm like, well, you guys, honestly, as a photographer during this pandemic, there's very little money coming in. And so this house is heated with oil. If I were to keep this house at even 65 degrees, I used to keep it at 65 degrees in the winter when I took care of my uncle because he was living here and he had his own space heater. But I was spending, my utilities were running $500 or $600 a month to keep the house warm. And back then I was making money. I had plenty of jobs. I was, doing some other stuff. It's still tight, but now I got barely any money coming in, except other than the little bit from the YouTube and the buy me a coffees. That's it. And I haven't had a coffee, a buy me a coffee in days now. It's like, um, so I'm trying to keep my oil expenditure down to about $100 a month, and my electric bill is running about $60 a month. I'm keeping that low by just using I have all my space heat. I only have one space heater on at a time, and I keep it on low setting, so it doesn't use too much electric. I don't know. I don't know why I'm telling you guys this, but yeah, that's why I keep it cold here because it's expensive to heat the house. And Jack Knack's asking, do I do photo edits anymore? Yeah, I'm going to have to limit it to, I'll probably do it on Tuesday, but I'm going to have to limit that to 1 day a week until my neck starts feeling better. Because I just can't sit for 4 hours straight right now and do a photo chat and a photo editing live stream, unfortunately. So I'll try and do one on Tuesday. So there won't be a photo chat on Tuesday. It'll be just a regular photo editing stream. So hopefully that works out for everyone. I know it doesn't work out for everyone, but that's all I can do right now until I start feeling better and can get into a different workflow. But I love doing the photo editing streams. But when I photo edit, I lean down like this, right? And I think that's what's aggravated my neck. And Jeff says, maybe do some insulation. Yeah, thanks, Jack. I should be better in a week or two, I hope, with the heating pad and the ice pack and just some over-the-counter, pain medications. I think I'll get there. And exercising, right, with my towel and, stretches and stuff. I think I'll get there, but we'll see. We'll see. And I want to make sure I'm not missing any questions. Paul has one. Let me find it real quick. Oh, come on. Paul. I can't find it now. Well, Paul, where is it? Paul Buell says, hello, Rob. I have a question about lens choice. What combination do you prefer, a 12 to 40 plus a 40 to 150 Pro, or a 12 to 100 f4 plus a 17-1.8 and a 45-1.8? I think, let me give that some thought. So basically, do you want to have two zooms that are f2.8s, or do you want to have one zoom at f4 and two primes at 1.8? And the question, I think for me personally, my lens choice would be the 12 to 100 plus the 17 and the 45 primes. Because a lot of times I want to go out with my camera and not carry bulky lenses, right? So I might just walk out with the 17 and put the 45 in my pocket. Or if I'm not sure what I'm going to be shooting, I might want to just take the 12 to 100. And that's kind of a bulky lens. It's like 700 grams, but I know I'm going to be ready for any situation. The only sacrifice is it's a little bit slow at f4, right? The alternative is the 12 to 40 and the 40 to 150 Pro. Both are, the 12 to 40 is not too bad. It's around 400 grams, right? That's an excellent lens. It's kind of your do-it-all lens. It's smaller and lighter than the 12 to 100, and it's faster, but it doesn't have that range. So the time that you do want to have range, you have to bring your 40 to 150 Pro, and that's a big heavy lens also. So my personal preference would be to have the option to go out small and light time to time, which is most of the time for me. And then when I need a little more reach, I'll bring the 12 to 100. The way you're talking about the 12 to 40 and the 40 to 150, that's more of like, the 40 to 150 is kind of in a class by itself. That's a lens you would buy separately from everything else that you listed because you need it, right? And you can get a 2x teleconverter and make it a 300 millimeter equivalent. So it's not really a fair comparison because the 40 to 150 to Pro is a much more niche lens in my opinion. It gives you that versatility, right, with that range. And it's very sharp. It's excellent lens, sharper than I believe all the other lenses combined, right? So if image quality and versatility is your main concern and not size and weight, go with the 2 zooms. If going smaller and lighter, like I do most of the time, I would go with the 1 zoom and the 2 primes. In fact, I would probably just get the 17 to 45 and get the 40 to 150. I would sort of combine what you have and skip the 12 to 100 and skip the 12 to 40. Just go with the 40 to 150, the 17, and the 45. That's what I would do ultimately from that list. So that's what I think. So hopefully that answers your question. Lauren says our cold weather is a daytime dips under 60. I know. I'm definitely going to move south, Lauren. Once I'm the oldest one in the family, I'm moving south. And I'm going to see. I'm going to scroll very slowly and see what other questions might be there. Zoom lenses are gift. Oops. That's an old message. Why did that pop up? Dang it. Something about Torbox. I think Maddie Solanto has a video on Torbox. It's some kind of hardware control for doing photo editing. I'm not that big into photo editing that I would need something like that. I'm happy with the sliders personally, but I suppose if I needed it for some professional workflow, it would make sense. And Untitled Shots is, I have the Olympus OMD EM10 Mark II. Yeah, it's an awesome camera. Awesome camera. I hope I didn't miss some other part of that question. But if I did, just ask it again. I'll try and get to it. And Lauren says, move west, no alligators and less bugs and humidity. You know what the trade-off, though, are floods, fires, earthquakes. I think I'd rather have bugs and humidity than floods, fire, and earthquakes, Lauren. You guys on the West Coast, man, you don't have it, it's not paradise over there either. And Ian says, I have a Canon 700D with a 55 to 250 zoom for birding, i.e. 400 millimeter equivalent, right? I'm strongly thinking of going to the M5 with the 12 to 200 kit lens. Will I see much improvement? No. The 12 to 200 lens is not that sharp. You would really to see an improvement, you need to go with the 40 to 150 Pro lens and an EM5 Mark III. I think EM5 Mark III with a 40 to 150 Pro. So you're looking at a couple $1,000, right, to get into that system. Then I think you'll see some improvement or significant enough improvement that, you spent $2,000, you don't regret it, right? That's my opinion. And, if you want to spend $2,000 to get slightly better images, I've never seen images from the setup you're talking about. But you can get, for a couple $1,000, you can get into an EM5 Mark III, which will give you pro capture and 20 megapixels and an excellent lens. And then you can add a teleconverter to get a 300 mil on micro four thirds. So that'd be a 600 millimeter equivalent. That will give you, and that's about another $300 on top of that. That's when you're going to see some improvement, I think, in the overall performance of taking bird shots because of the pro capture, and then the sharpness of the lenses and the image quality and everything. I think at that point you'll see a big improvement, but not with the 12-200. I would definitely avoid that lens, even for general photography. I mean, I wouldn't. The lens is kind of big and heavy. I would say get the 12-100 lens and crop in. You'll get a better image than you will using a 12-200, in my opinion. I don't own either lens, so I can't tell you firsthand. But from the images that I've seen online from those two lenses, there's no comparison. The 12-200 has always been soft and fuzzy to me. I've not seen a sharp image from that. Because, you can watch videos online about the 12-200. Even Robin Wong has one, and everybody has. There's a lot of videos out there on that lens, and when you look at the images they take with it, they look great online on YouTube. But I do a lot of photo editing sessions, and people send me pictures, raw images from that lens, and I can tell you it's soft. So I can tell you the raw images are soft, and yeah, you can sharpen them up and make them look pretty in post-processing, but it's the old adage, garbage in, garbage out. You got to start with the best image quality you can in camera before you start post-processing, and you're not going to get there with the 12-200. So hopefully that helps, Ian. All right. And Ann says, last time you talked about Olympus lack of learning us thing. As an ex-Canon user, I find Olympus company more user-friendly. Olympus Nordic has a lot of webinar, and also Olympus US, Mike Amico. Yeah, now we were on that stream the other day with, what's his name, Matt Seuss, right, where he talked about live composite. And he did a great job of showing what you can do with live composite, right? And I should update my video on live composite. Where that webinar fell short, right? And this is the problem with a lot of webinars that I've seen from Olympus, is they don't get into the actual direct settings in the camera and show you the menu and step by step, right? And that's where I kind of fill in that gap. My channel, I show you step by step in real time. That's why the videos are so long, 30 minutes, just to show you how to do one thing, because I don't want to skip any steps in between. So there was a lot of questions in that stream where people are asking, what settings did you use, or how do you end live composite? Very basic questions, right? Well, you end live composite by pushing the shutter button, but I can't fault Olympus's stream, Matt Seuss, for that, because he was only given 1 hour to go through a lot of material. So he's not going to bog you down with just settings and stuff and then not show you what you can do. It's better to show the possibilities. When you have a short amount of time, it's better to show the possibilities that you can do with the camera and examples than to get into the fine details and nitty-gritty of how to set things up. And that's where a lot of these webinars fall short, is they keep showing what you can do and examples, but then they don't get into the fine print. So if you look at my channel, a lot of the videos are very long, the tutorials, and I have another series that I started called Olympus Fine Print. So if you see a video with that thumbnail on it, you know that that's really stuff that's not well documented in the manual, and it's hard to find anywhere online those kinds of settings and features, right? But yeah, I think Olympus does try, but it's not enough. They need to have some coordination with camera stores to do live workshops after the purchase of the camera, like Robin Wong was talking about last week. And I don't know. There just needs to be more after the sale type support. Then you can start to grow. Is what I think. I could be completely wrong. Maybe nobody cares, you know. Once you buy the camera, you know, Olympus is done with you, you know, or the camera company, whatever camera company, they're done. And they're looking for that next buyer. That's the way corporations work a lot of times. But we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, there is a lot of good stuff online, but you have to dig for it. So it needs to be more coordinated in a way that after you buy the camera, you open up the manual. Page 1 says, this is our YouTube channel. There's several playlists here about how to use the camera, you know, and then list the playlist. They need to have some consistent way. And then that should be on page 1 of every owner's manual, is how to, you know, have access to an online education learning thing, you know, whether it's on YouTube or their own website, so that people can just go online and start learning how to use the camera in a very slow, methodical way after they buy the camera. But right now it's a freaking mess. You know, I can't even get my own channel organized enough, to be honest, for a beginner to come into my channel and just start learning how to use things from day one. But that's what needs to be done. Okay, but it was good to see you on the stream the other day with Matt Seuss. And Nature says, absolutely get the photo video as good as possible when shooting. I always use the principle when doing audio, both live and recording studio. Yes. How's my audio today, Nature? Since you're a audio expert. And Jeff says, Rob is the menu meister. Thank you. And Pen Pal says, on a lighter weight body, a good compromise between weight and size image quality is the 12 to 45 f4 Pro. Yes, that's an excellent lens. I'd have probably bought that if it was available instead of the 12 to 40 Pro that I have now. And Robin says, thermal curtains, make sure to open them during the day to let the heat light in. It's cloudy though, but when there is sun, I've done that. It didn't make much difference. Because the problem is my windows are 70 years old. They're the original windows when they built this house. So they're very drafty, right? So I have to put plastic up. I put some up a few years ago. Half of them have kind of torn apart now. But when I put the plastic up, you know, the plastic is like, you know, stretched out because there's so much draft in my house. And you can walk around into my hallway and you can look right up to the roof and see the roof. My house is a disaster. It needs really a lot of insulation and a lot of thermal sealing. If I put my hand up near an outlet, there's like you can feel a little bit of a breeze coming through the outlet, right? My house is so drafty, and opening up the curtains to let that little bit of sunlight in also opens up all that draftiness, right? It kind of excels it a little bit. So I need to buy new windows. But I'm not spending any more money on this house. It's like having an old car. At some point, you know, you can't spend money on on an old car to keep it going because it's just not worth anything. And for a house this old, I can invest in new windows. If I had the money, I would get new windows, a new HVAC system, put insulation in, all that good stuff, and it would cost me probably about $75,000 to $80,000, and it's not going to bring the value of the house up by that much. So I don't have $75,000 or $80,000, and even if I did, it wouldn't add any value to this house. So yeah. Anyway. In the summertime, I keep the windows, definitely I close the curtains to keep the heat out because I just use window units for AC. And Sinan says, what do you suggest me? My budget is little now. If you're starting from scratch, like no camera at all, EM10 Mark II, um, the EM10 Mark II with the 14 to 42 kit lens and the 40 to 150 kit lens, that's $99. That'll take you a long way. Trust me, that combination. So I think that would be my best answer. EM10 Mark II with 14 to 42 and a 40 to 150, about $400 US in excellent condition. You know, if not brand new. If you can find it brand new at that price, all the better. But $400 or less, that's the budget, I think. You know, if you don't want the 40 to 150, that'll save you $100. You can just get by with a 14 to 42 lens. Wow. It's still hard to follow the chat, even with but at least I can pop the messages up. Oh, here's the rest of your question. I'm sorry. Hello, Rob. I am an OMD 10 Mark III user. I have a kit lens, but this seems to me insufficient quality, secondhand in my country. 40 to 150 R for $80, 25 f1.8, and a 45 1.8, and a 12 to 40 f2.8 Pro for $500. So you already have the camera. You're just looking for a better lens. So if you want to replace the kit lens, the 12 to 40 f2.8 Pro is good. The 12 to 40 f4, it's the 12 to 45 f4 would be your best replacement. Not the 12 to 40 f2.8, but the 12 to 45 f4. That's the lens I would recommend you get. And it should be less than $500 used, right? Secondhand. If you need to shoot in low light, though, the primes are a better way to go. And the 40 to 150, you should buy that no matter what. Okay? Not to replace the 14 to 42, but I would buy that lens no matter what. Just for that extra reach, and it's a great lens. But I would say the 12 to 45 f4 is your best bet, even though it's not listed there. It should be less than 500. Okay, a little hiccup there, but and if you can't afford, well, let me rephrase that. If you don't want to buy or spend $400 or $500, just get the 25 millimeter f1.8 to replace your kit lens and shoot with that. That would be the lowest or best decision on a budget, is the 25 f1.8 or the 17 1.8, but probably the 25 might be a better choice. What's this? How about dual mode for menu system? One simple for consumers and another for pros. That's what the AP menu is on the EM10 Mark III and the EM10 Mark IV. They have an AP menu, which is supposed to be simpler. And okay, sorry, I'm trying to find. Sorry, I didn't mean to show that one. And that says, you had one yesterday that was so much better step by step. Mike had Mike had one yesterday that one was so much better step by step. Oh, okay. I missed that one. Let's see. Lynn Kai says, do you have a website for your work photography? Not really, just my Instagram, which is right below the chat message here. Just go to my Instagram and I post pictures time to time. Nothing special. Whoops. And so you'll see it right there. Rob Trek Lens is my Instagram. I have a Flickr account too, but I post more often on Instagram. But you'll find me on Flickr as Rob Trek. And oh, this is the answer to my question from before. It says here, your new mic is great, clear and reasonable depth of sound. The Shure mic I now use on camera is superb. Yeah, Shure. The SMB something, I forget. The SMB4, I forget. Yeah, I know one of those Shure mics are really good though. It's the one everybody uses. But I hear you need you need some sort of line amplifier. I forget what they call it. Cloud lifter or something, right? I'm not spending that. I got this mic for free. So I'm pretty happy with this. But yeah, if I could have the ultimate setup, I would get me a nice little mic tube preamp and throw that into a nice DAC interface or something and stream that directly. I don't know. You can get really carried away with audio stuff, I know. But for live streaming, this is good enough, right? As long as you guys can hear me. I'm not a musician where, you need to hear my voice very clearly. But if I put the mic right up to my mouth, right, now it sounds very like a Shure mic, right? It's much deeper, more robust. If I turn the cut filter off, now the cut filter is off. It should even sound even nicer. Because most mics, right, you see the people, they have them kind of set up like this or right in their face and they're talking like this. But I don't like a mic right in my face. I just like it sitting here on the desk and sounding okay. It says, Rick says, a few days ago you did a fun long press tutorial. Is there a place online for all these tips and tricks? I have a couple would like to share. They would kind of get lost in a conversation. Yes, I would say probably, is there a place online for all these tips and tricks? I have a couple and would like to share. So the best place to share it really in the forums, right? So there's one called MU43 forums, and then my forum, robtrek.com. robtrek.com/forum. You can share your tips and tricks there under Olympus cameras or somewhere. You'll see the right category there. And then MU43. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. I'll put a link. I'll put this link in the chat for you. So I just posted it. Those would be the places if you want to share some tips and tricks. I'm sure everyone at MU43 will really appreciate it, and also people on my forum will appreciate it. Adam Farr says, have you considered doing paid one-on-ones to help people learn online social distancing? Yeah. If you go to my coffee page, I have to sign in. Seriously, I hate this double I mean, it's a love-hate relationship, right? This double verification thing. I mean, it's good because then I know it's less likely for somebody to hack my stuff, but what? I logged into the wrong account. Hold on. Okay. Let me drag this over. So right here, I'm doing like 75 bucks for 1 hour. And honestly, I'll spend even longer than that usually, but I'm thinking about adding another one, maybe 30 bucks for a half an hour or something, you know? I haven't had any bites on this yet. Or maybe I'll just do it for free. But this is my Buy Me a Coffee page. And so I haven't had any takers on that yet. And I haven't promoted it or talked about it. I was thinking about, pricing wise, really one-on-one would be, I think 75 is fair, but it's not really entry level friendly, right? Because most of the people that need help, they're entry level and they just spent, $400, $500, $600, $1,000 on a camera, which is a lot of money to spend on something that you really don't have any, you really have no idea how to use, right? So tacking on another $75, I don't know. But I have to kind of balance what my time is worth versus how much can I help a person, right? So what I might do is run a promotion where I will do free one-on-one, like a free one-on-one for 30 minutes in exchange for allowing me to post that one-on-one session on YouTube, right? So at least I'll get a video and some ad revenue out of it. And then use that. And besides that, I only make $2-3 on a video, right? But besides that, I can promote the 1 hour sessions that are $75, right? So if people watch my one-on-ones that I do for free on YouTube as a video, they might be interested in doing a 1 hour session and pay for it for $75, right? So, I'm not like a marketing guru, but I'm thinking that might be the way to go. So if anybody wants a half-hour session for free, I'll have to think of a way to do that, and see how that goes initially, and see if I can ramp up some appointments that way. And then if I start getting interest at 75 bucks an hour, then that'll be great. If I get no interest at 75 bucks an hour after doing this promo, that tells me I'm charging too much for what I'm offering, right? So it would just be kind of a test. So I just threw that up there just to see what kind of response I would get. I haven't gotten any. I hardly get any coffees to begin with, right? But $3 coffees. I do appreciate everyone that has bought me coffees and things. That helps me out tremendously, especially now. But I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know. I'm just not a marketing expert really, but I'm thinking doing something like that. Nature says the mic sounds worse near my mouth. Oh, the pop shield. Yeah. I'm just using a little foam thing, right? So Peter Piper picked the peck. I didn't do a pop test on the review of this mic. Because, if you have it like 12 inches away, you don't really need a pop filter. All right, let me see if I can find some things to pop up. Here's one from John Matthews. It says, I'd like to see a video comparison for AF and video between a Panasonic 12 to 32 and a 14 to 42 or a 12 to 40 with the EM1.2 and an EM10.2. Oh, okay. Let me cut and paste that message out. There. Because I do have all three of those lenses and those cameras. So that's something I can test. And I assume you mean like for like face detect and things like that. So I'd have to cover some ground, right, with autofocus, because there's different ways to do it. But I would do primarily a face detect focus, walking in and out of frame, up and down, back and forth, the routine. And that would be the only kind of autofocus test I could really perform. Maybe do a push, focus pull or something as well. But yeah, that makes sense. I can tell you in practice on the EM1 Mark II and the M5 Mark III, with the phase detect sensors, they all perform very similarly. Where it's going to be different is in low light, because the f2.8 on the 12 to 40 Pro is going to perform better in low light, just by virtue that it's wide open. Now in video, you can lock the apertures at f4, so that mitigates the f2.8. But at least you have the option to go to f2.8 for low light photography, and that's where the AF might be better. But other than that, they are pretty similar. But I haven't done it side by side. Now on the EM10 Mark II, you will see a big difference. I'm pretty sure you will. So it'll be an interesting test. Maybe I can do that when it gets a little warmer. I think we're going to be in the 50 degrees in about 10 or 15 days. We'll be around 50, then I can probably do it. But right now it's like 30 degrees out, so I'm not sure I want to go out like that. But we'll see. And trying to find. Not sure what that's about. Olympus menu features are like microwaves with tons of features. We tend to use limited amount of. Yes, I agree with that. And it says here, thank you, Rob. I watch his videos all the time. Will you share this live stream? Because I watch subtitles. Just say yes or no. I appreciate you. Sorry for the bad English. I don't remember. I'm not sure what you're asking me. But these live streams, my live streams stay online forever. So you can always watch them later. If you're talking about someone else, I can't remember who we were talking about. I'm sorry. All right. Now I know where now I'm caught up here. And put an at in front of. So I guess Siegfried, you had a question. I missed it. I'm sorry. Ironically, the at sign doesn't really work with this app. But I see it over here. I have a database with secondhand pricing. Oh, okay. When I see that again, I'll post it up here. So Siegfried says he has a database with secondhand pricing. Glad to share. Okay. Just email me the link, and then or better yet, just post it on my forum at robtrekker.com. And if you can't find an appropriate category, just put it under Olympus cameras or lenses, and I'll try and figure out a way to promote that. And David says, don't give it away in one-on-one instruction. Okay. Watching from London, UK, all the best from Ice. Ice Wallow come. Hey, I haven't seen you before. Welcome to the stream. And JM says downgrade to $50. That's a thought. I could do $50. I mean, like I said, initially it's not about the money. It's about generating some interest, right? And then once I get some interest, depending on demand, I can raise my prices later, right? If I'm booked solid every day, I can just say, well, let's go to $100 an hour. And then suddenly I'm only booked, half as many. Or it might go to zero, and I'll say, okay, $100 is too much. Nobody's going to pay that, but they'll pay 50. Now I'm booked solid. It's all just supply and demand, right? I mean, honestly, I would love to do it for free if I could, but yeah, we got to make a living, right? And then John says 75 is more than fair for professional service, maybe 45 for a half hour. I'm thinking some samples on YouTube is a great idea. One-on-one with Rob Trek. Yep. Okay. And Rob, were you kind of lukewarm on the Fujifilm X-T30? Okay, my problem with Fujifilm is boy, I walked in. Walter just texted me about that other viewer. I walked into that one, didn't I? Anyway, okay, so this is the Fujifilm X-T30, right? Awesome camera, right? It takes wonderful pictures, 24 megapixel sensor, and comes with like image stabilized lens. If you get, this is the 18, the 55, f2.8 to something. I mean, it's really a fine package, and it's relatively compact, right? I put a little grip on here on mine, and a little bit of bling on top. And so yeah, but where I go lukewarm is on the controls and dials that everybody really loves about Fuji. I think if you love shooting manual, this is a very easy way to, Fuji makes it very easy for people that like shooting in manual mode to use their cameras because the dials are right here. But if you're going to shoot mostly in auto, right? Like aperture priority, for example, this dial on top becomes useless because this is the shutter speed dial. But if you shoot like most people do in aperture priority, this dial becomes useless. The exposure comp dial is nice. I mean, there's a front and rear dial, but they're really tiny. So my problem with this camera is really the ergonomics, right? And I'm just being picky. The Q button here is constantly, I'm accidentally hitting that. It's a really very useful feature, but sorry, you can't see it with the little pop-up. But you have to disable it most of the time so that it doesn't pop up all the time. I like the functionality of this button. It's just, I keep knocking it too often. So most people, they disable it now. There's some new firmware update that allows you to disable that. But I like the joystick, and the screen is, fine. For photography, I prefer just the tilt screen like this does. Just tilt up and down. And, I really haven't given it a fair shake. I think it's a fine camera. If if you like the Fujifilm simulations and things, I should take it out sometime. The only thing that was really weak on this is the battery life. Man, it's pretty rough. Not that any camera in this range is that great, but that one was really short, exceptionally short, in my opinion. I just prefer the controls and dials on, say, the Olympus. See, it has nice big dials on the front and back. You know, there's no shutter mode dial or aperture or ISO dial. It's just right here. So it's just an ergonomic choice, really, with the buttons and dials. That's all. And then Nature says, the problem with making money on YouTube is that so many people are recording, teaching, and posting for free. Only works if you have a physical product to sell with hype. Yeah, it's true. Nothing is easy, right, to make money. Nothing. There's no easy way to make money. That's long and short of it. And John says, bought the LM3 flash. Any suggestion on using a TTL manual and P mode, all indoor stuff? Also, some people are modding it for cameras it doesn't really work with. Yeah, I've seen that. They mod it for the Panasonics or something. I haven't seen it modded for any other brand, but I've seen it modded for Panasonic, I think. But no, I don't really have any tips. It's primarily an indoor flash. It's not strong enough to really use outdoors unless it's really dark outside. And use the bounce feature and stuff like that. I think Robin Wong has a video on that flash that you can check out, where he gives some tips on it. So check out Robin Wong's video on that. I've never made one about that flash. The only thing I really used it for was when I had my Nikon flash. It was the SB800, right? The SB800 Nikon flash has an excellent optical trigger. So I used the flash, the FML3 flash, to trigger the optical trigger of the larger Nikon SB800. So it worked as an off-camera flash. And that's really the only thing I use the FML3 for. I've used it once or twice indoors when I didn't want to carry a big flash. But now I have the Godox TT350, which I prefer to use over the FLM3. I mean, it's a lot bigger than FLM3. For people that don't know, it's this flash. God, I got about 3 of these laying around, but it's this little tiny flash, and it gets its power from the camera directly, so it doesn't need batteries or anything, and it tilts up and rotates around, right? So it's a good little flash, but it's very limited on power. That's all. So I used it as a optical trigger. And thanks, Nature. Your best attribute is the ability to host and put over information in an easy to understand method. Get a TV company to employ you. I know, right? That would be awesome on TV. Man, that's why I have YouTube, right? My problem is working with all these technical things, like having this studio set up in a way that I don't break my neck, have good lighting and sound and all of that. You know, I'm the talent, you know, but when you have your own streaming, you have to be the talent, the production manager, the editor, you know, you have to do everything, right? So let's see. It says Bob Finley says the 14-150 f4-5.6 looks like an Intriga all-around lens. What's your thoughts? It's $313 and get the Olympus versus 600 new. Yeah, get a reconditioned one. It is my go-to lens for general photography. Like if I go on a photo walk with the photo club here, that's the lens I take with me 9 times out of 10. Because I don't know, it's usually a place I've never been to before, right? And I don't know what I'm going to see or what I'm going to get pictures of. So I love it. And it's essentially as sharp as the regular kit lenses, the 14 to 42 and the 40 to 150. I mean, it's a little bit less sharp on the wide end than the 14 to 42, but it's a little sharper on the long end than the 40 to 150 kit lenses. But, you know, it's a wash, basically. It's just as good as having 2 separate ones. And it's weather sealed, which the kit lenses are not. So it's weather sealed, and you put that on your EM5 Mark II or other weather sealed camera, and you have an excellent setup to go out and do anything. So I would not hesitate getting it if you need the weather sealing and don't want to swap lenses in the field. If you already own the 14 to 42 and the 40 to 150 lenses, I wouldn't get it unless you need the weather sealing and you don't like swapping lenses. That's, you know, long and short of it. But image quality wise, is pretty much the same. And yes, I did do a video on it, as John, you'd say. So if you search 14 to 150 on my channel, you'll see a video on it. But I just summed it up there for you. And Matt says, I posted a question about external flash cable socket on the EM5, but I think you missed it. Do you know if it works with vintage film camera flashes? Hot shoe doesn't seem to work with my... I don't know. I know what you're talking about, though. There's a little thing right here. I assume it does, but I don't know. You'd have to try it. I've never tried it, but that's a good question, Matt. I don't have any vintage flashes that use that. I'll have to look. But I've never tried it. Sorry. But I'm gonna keep this question just in case. Okay. And Canon RP has an interesting control. I don't know. Lauren has something here about the Canon RP. Light setting, f-stop, and shutter speed with one dial, then up and down with the other. Okay. I'm not familiar. I had a Canon RP, but I don't remember using the FV function. Nature said it would be great to have 3 dials in manual mode. Yeah. Yeah, the Fujifilm X-T4 has all 3, right? Shutter speed, ISO, and then aperture is on the lens. So they have shutter speed, ISO, and then the aperture is on the lens. That's why the X-T4 is awesome for people that like to shoot in full manual, because the controls are right there, and it makes complete sense. But that said, you can program the Olympus buttons to do the same thing. But yeah, the X-T4 is perfect for that. So you might want to look at one of those. Or just get an X-T2. Save some money. It's pretty much the same image quality. Okay, and... Leon has a question. Did you see Tony and Chelsea comparison between A1 and R5? Twice Tony nearly dropped the lens on the Sony A1 because the lens came loose. Because the lens button was on the wrong side. No, I haven't watched that video. You know, maybe I'll watch it later. There's like a lot of other videos I'd rather watch than about cameras I'll never buy. But I'll watch it. I'll watch it. But it makes sense. I mean, they're fine carrying. A1 was what, $6,500, and the R5 is like $4,000. I mean, oh my God, I just wow. I can't. So whenever it's not just Tony and Chelsea, it's just if I see videos about cameras that I'm not even thinking about, I tend not to watch them until I really have nothing else to watch. I mean, I'm interested in those cameras from an academic standpoint, but I don't watch them right off. I look for other things to watch first that are more relevant. Like I have to watch a lot of astrophotography stuff this week because I'm going to have a guest on next week about astrophotography. So I want to be able to ask some good questions. um, but yeah, that's interesting because the button was on the wrong side. Almost dropped the lens. I'll watch it for that. I watch it mainly for Chelsea. I like Chelsea. So if you're watching Chelsea, Valentine's Day, call me. Happy Valentine's Day, Chelsea Northrop. I guess that's your name, right? Could be Chelsea Trek any day. Just call me. Okay. Um, and Walter's asking, will CF Express become more widely adopted? That's a tough call. I think in professional high-end cameras, like the 1DX or whatever, whatever those high-end cameras are, the big, big monster cameras, I think that's where you'll see it, right? Because professionals need that high speed, don't worry about the buffer kind of stuff. But for general consumer camera, I think the cost that it adds to the camera price is not worth it because SD cards take up a lot less space, so you can make the camera smaller and more compact. And they're coming out with a new UHS-3 format, right? The UHS-2 format is already 300 megabits per second, and UHS-3 is supposed to be more than that, right? Whatever it is. So I feel like basically most cameras at the consumer level are going to stay SD card. And, I think Nikon is using the CF Express, right? And their Z6 and Z7. But it's not a dual CF, right? It's like CF and SD. So my gut feeling is that, yeah, the high-end cameras will stay there with that format, but not for general cameras like $2,000 or less, just because they're much bigger cards, so they take up more space, making the camera bulkier. And the trend right now is to downsize. So I don't see it becoming more widely adopted across cameras less than $2,000. Cameras over $2,000, yeah, I think that's where you'll see it most often. Because it's not just the camera, right? The problem is the cards are expensive, right? They're $100, $200 for a memory card for CF Express, and then you have to get the memory card reader on top of that, which I think they've come down in price. So I'll let that go. But it's mainly the price of the memory card itself is very expensive. It's like $1 a gig or something, right? And the average consumer, I just don't see that being adopted widely adopted. Just basically, that's my opinion. And David says $6,500 is a lot of money for Sony A1 Ethernet port. Yeah, it's a lot. I didn't really look at that camera too much. Does it have an Ethernet port in it too? So I think the 1DX has one, which is something I wouldn't even think about. And Lauren says, at Rob, but would she call you something nice about my Chelsea? Yeah. All right, Sony FX 3 is a new but pricey. All are too dear. Yeah, I saw the thumbnail for that too. It's just a rumor, right? I don't even know what that is. I'll look at that. I mean, honestly, I'll catch like a photo, the photo fix or whatever. In about 7 or 8 minutes, I get all of the news I need about cameras and what's going on. And and if something piques my interest, then I'll start looking at more details from other channels. But oh, HCam, how you doing? It's okay. I'm about to actually check out here. I've been on a long time, but my neck is feeling pretty good actually. Um, all right, I think Walter says, wow, that's interesting. It's not showing on my chat down here. It's a little bit of a delay. Walter says that the Z6 and C7 are Gen 1 XQD CF Express only, one slot. Z62 and Z67 had dual CF Express. Oh, okay. They have the dual CF Express plus SD. So it is a CF Express and an SD. Okay. And John Truman is asking for photo editing live stream. Do you prefer to receive mostly unprocessed pictures straight out of camera? Yeah, RAW if you can. RAW is best. And it can be from any camera manufacturer, but RAW is best. And then JPEG if you have it. And like I said, I'll try and do one on Tuesday. I think I'll be okay. I could probably almost do one today, but I don't want to push it. Just because I'm feeling good now, in an hour I might not be. So I don't want to push it. And it says here, watch the necking, Rob. Even if she is hot blonde, you can do the edit sessions. I'm not sure what you're talking about. It's okay. Paparazzi, the original virus. And I think I wanted to show Walter's thing here about Nikon. Because Nikon has, I think, the Z7. And then they've come out with the Z6 II and Z7 II. And those cameras are still limited for me in a way. I mean, I love Nikon. I really love my D750, and I've had many other Nikons before that. The D7200. No, I had the D7100, which was awesome. And I have a Nikon D80, even older than that, a D40. Really, Nikon makes really, really nice cameras. But ultimately, it's the overall size of the system, right? The lenses. And that's where Micro Four Thirds works best for me. And I win national sports competitions because I specialize in just one aspect of sport every year. You can't be best if you want to do too much. That's true. There's the jack of all trades, like me, master of none. I would say that's my expertise, is not being an expert. So I am an expert at not being an expert, if that makes any sense. It's one of those stupid phrases like agree to disagree. It doesn't make any sense. And then a name I cannot read, but it says, I like to watch the live talk, but always the nighttime in here, Thailand. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's late. I'm sorry. Sorry. I'd have to get up really early to hit that time zone. I tried it for a little while, but it was just too hard. I just couldn't do it. Lauren says the war of cameras will center around full frame entry level. The Canon RP was the first salvo of rounds between the ships. The 999 camera and full frame is the target. We'll see. I mean, the last few cameras that came out were thousands of dollars, right? I feel like still the target is, I think the war is really at the $2,000 level, because there's really nothing at $1,000 except the Canon. Then Nikon, the next one is up like a Nikon at 1,400, and then everything is 2,000 and up. So I don't know if anybody can really do $1,000 full frame camera other than Canon. They did it once, and I don't know really how well that sold. I think if it did well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's an interesting prediction. If you see a full frame from Nikon and a full frame from Sony for $1,000 in the next 6 to 12 months, then you're spot on. There's going to be a war if they sell well. Maybe because the Canon RP is a fine camera, but it had its faults, right? For video work anyway. And everybody wants to go full on hybrid marketing wise. They want a hybrid camera that's capable on video and photography. And the RP just didn't check all the boxes when it came to video. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, for most of us photographers, we don't care about the video side. And I think that's where the Canon RP shines. It's an excellent photography camera. But from a marketing standpoint, it doesn't check all the boxes. You know, the Canon cripple hammer, the famous Canon cripple hammer that Casey always talks about on Camera Conspiracies, you know. So we'll have to see. Okay, and then Lauren says the Canon is selling out. Okay, so it's doing well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the $1,000. I feel like right now the war is at $2,000, but maybe in 6 months it'll be at the $1,000 price point. We just are waiting for Nikon and Canon to catch up, right? And oh, that's for Rick. And Walter says the Z50 DX crop is under 1,000, but the Z5 full frame is 1,400. Yeah, that's what I was saying. They're at 1,400, so they didn't match the Canon $1,000 camera. But who knows? Like in 6 months, you know, they might have a $1,000 full frame. And if that's the case, then there'll be a war at the $1,000 price point. But right now, nobody beats Canon for $1,000. Panasonic next camera, I think, is an inexpensive full frame. They could do it, right? The S5 is a $2,000 camera, which I have, right? I have this one. It's there. It's a fine camera. Can they do it at $1,000 though? I don't know if they can. And have phase detect and all, you know what I mean? I mean, that Canon RP for $1,000, man, I get it why you couldn't pass up on that deal. It's an excellent photography camera. And John says Nikon DSLR and F lenses are disappearing from camera stores. Really? Don't think you'll see anything but a mirrorless Z mount in the future. Yeah, probably. And Lauren says video not needed. Yep. Like I said, we really don't need it. And HCam says $9.99 is a good buy. but then you tart with the lenses and you need a few thousand more. Yeah, that's true. But fortunately, Canon's come out with some affordable, like a 50 millimeter for $200, 50 millimeter f1.8. So it can be done. I mean, you think about the Nikon. I know the Nikon F mount. There's a lot of affordable glass with the Nikon F. So hopefully that'll start coming out for the mirrorless full frame cameras more. Just like Canon's got a good start with the 50 millimeter. And I think more on the way. And Panasonic's talking about some affordable lenses as well. And that's what's really going to drive the market long term, because when these reviewers come on and talk about the full frame cameras or whatever camera, they always say, okay, there's no lens lineup yet, right? So I would hesitate on buying this right now. That's what I always hear Chris Nichols and Jordan saying, right? And then when the lens lines up fully flushed out, they're like, yeah, this has a great lens lineup. You should buy this, So, but yeah, once the affordable lens lines up comes out, I think then we'll start to see more sales. I hope. I'd really like to see more sales, right? Across the board. Nikon will lower the price. They are in trouble deep. And I thought I saw something here. It's becoming rare to see people with cameras these days. Things have changed a lot, yeah. All right, and I'm gonna see. Lauren says, I got the RP for $1,000. Yep, paid the tax. Yeah, I remember that. And the Canon RF is but $199. Then add the discount from purchase. Yeah, I know, Lauren. You got a smoking deal because you were very patient and you waited, right? So basically, you got the camera for $999, which included the kit lens. I think the 24-105. So you got the camera and lens for $999, plus the sales tax credits and other credits. This other 3% you're talking about basically paid for your prime lens, your 50 millimeter, for $199. So yeah, that's when you really do your shopping and take your time, and don't do these spur of the moment purchases like I do, right? And pay full price. You can get some good deals, right? That's why I question if it's really selling that well, if they have to discount it so much. But what do I know, And Canon has the affordable 85 millimeter full frame lens now, but I like the 24-105, yeah. And let's see. And Nature said, I can't find it on the other screen, but it says, the best reason for buying Micro Four Thirds is the size and weight of the cameras and lenses. When doing wildlife and nature, often end up walking miles. Who wants the extra weight to carry? Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of converts from full frame system users to Micro Four Thirds because of the reach you get with Micro Four Thirds with much smaller lenses, right? So the 300 millimeter f4 on a Nikon is 300 millimeters, right? But 300 millimeters f4 on an Olympus camera is like 600 millimeters. So you're carrying basically half the lenses, right? Half the weight in lenses with Olympus for the same reach. And that's where, Olympus pushed a lot of their marketing towards. And then you had, Tony come out and sorry about the battery. Tony and Chelsea come out and say, no, it's not the same. It's not the same. You're not going to get as good image quality. And I would argue a little bit with his methodology in testing, right? Sorry, while I fix this. My batteries are getting old. Let me see this battery. This battery lasted 2 hours and 40 minutes. So I need to, this is, the date rubbed off. It's so old. But yeah, this battery's getting, I stream so much and I do it on battery. I think I'm getting close to the recharge cycle limit on these things. They're supposed to go recharge cycle like 500 times or something. So I'm definitely getting close to that by now. And then John Matthews says, I wonder if Micro Four Thirds should double down on size, more GM1, GX850 type cameras. Maybe. I mean, the M10 Mark III is like the best-selling camera in Japan, and it's the smallest camera. I think Robin did a great video on why that camera is doing well in Japan. So you might be right, you know. I just, I don't know if that'd be enough for people to convert from their cell phones, though. I think the other direction I was talking about, having post, follow up after the sale of the camera, would be more valuable than having smaller cameras. Smaller cameras might drive a little more business of new customers, but I don't know if it'd be enough to really pull the camera industry out from under this, cloud. And you see a lot of people with SLRs over here, no compacts, many smartphones, yeah. And in Rob Trek, I would like to see Tony and Chelsea carrying 1,000mm telephoto type lenses and 2 full frame cameras for miles. I know. I mean, they do usually have a caveat or something where they say, we get the small, lightweight size of these cameras and the reach that they give, but don't expect similar image quality, is what they say. And I'd have to, I don't have the luxury of having, a 600mm Nikon lens that's $12,000 to compare it against a 300mm f4. But I would like to test it for myself if I could, but I just don't have the budget to even rent a 600mm lens and put it on my Nikon and compare it. But okay, folks, I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm starting to get a little discomfort, not bad at all, but a little bit of discomfort. So this is a good place to stop. I really appreciate you guys being here and taking time out today and spending it with me. It's been, 2.5 hours, so long stream today, but it's a lot of fun. And thanks for your patience while I kind of go through the text, this new texting system with the pop-ups and stuff. I think hopefully this will, I'll get that workflow down where I'll work with that a little smoother. It was a little awkward for me today, but it's the first time, but it seems to be working well. So I'm looking forward to that. And if you have any comments or anything about the stream today, anything we talked about, just leave it down below for me so I can look at it later, because we talked about a lot of stuff and I'd like to follow up on some of those things, those issues as well. But I will be back most likely Tuesday for a photo editing live stream, not a photo chat. So I'll see you guys on Tuesday for those of you. So submit your images when you see the link come up on my channel, and I'll do my best to edit those and do some critiques as well. All right, you guys have a good rest of your weekend and happy Valentine's Day.